I'm gonna clear the beer cans from the coffee table. I'm gonna clean the ashtray on the coffee table. I'm gonna do a third thing, I'm sure I'm able. I will say one nice thing before I do. Before 3, before 4. Maybe tomorrow. And I'm gonna love whoever I will please. I'm gonna kiss my friends upon the cheek. Kiss my friends upon the cheek. Repeat till I believe I don't have to be ashamed of what I love. Don't be afraid anymore. And if you want last time, I won't be afraid anymore. Lord knows I've done some dumb shit and I plan to do some more, but I won't be afraid anymore. Say, Lord knows I've done some dumb shit and I plan to do some more, but I won't be afraid.
How long you been fishing, Jarrett?
Well, Devin, my whole life.
How are they snapping, boys?
Like always.
They're not.
Could be debate.
I'll take a beer.
I'll have a brat.
Can you believe it? Fish just ain't biting today.
Oh, boys.
Who's that?
Don't look.
Best day ever.
I love fishing. Oh, yeah. I love fishing. Yeah.
One, two, three, 4.
I can only be in a world that sets me free, where the only pain in my life would be growing. I'm happy knowing that my destiny is waiting for me. Is waiting for me. So I'll just live my way, take each day by day, and those clouds are gone. See how that sun keeps on shining, keeps on reminding that my destiny is waiting for me, is waiting for me. So I'll just live my way. Take each day by day. And the good things in life are only one part of us trying. And I'm not denying that my destiny is waiting for me, is waiting for me. And the good things I can see, they can only happen to we. And the love all around is only one part of us growing. I'm happy knowing that my destiny is waiting for me. It's waiting for me. So I'll just live my way. Love each day by day. And the good things in life are only one part of us growing. Now I'm happy knowing my destiny is waiting for me, is waiting for me.
Good day to you. My name is Bobby Bullitt, Saint Germain, and I'm going to sing a song here called Looking at Me, the first time it's sang in public at the Tiny Desk contest. So hope you enjoy it. I may disappear when you're looking at me, looking at me, looking at me. Take a closer look and you will see. A human being. I have feelings too, just like you, just like you. shine too, just like you. There must be a place in this big old world, big old world that we can share. Don't want to disappear when you're looking at me, looking at me, looking at me. Here I am, looking at you. Here I am. Looking at you.
Do Alone. This is called Alone. This one's also on the album. Sam put really pretty little things in there, and I'm really happy with it.
I wake up a lot of times with this song stuck in my head, and like it's just like it's the melody just kind of is like haunting through my dreams. You know, I wake up and it's there somewhere, and yeah, I don't know if that made any sense, but
No. I'm proud that I wrote something capable of such magic. Happiness is madness, and my mind is her home, polluted by the sadness that lingers all around, and anger feels like sorrow underneath it all, and sorrow feels like breaking emptiness as I fall. And you should be here next to me, and I'll trace the outlines of your body, and you'll tell me that I look beautiful. Oh, and I'll say thanks, love, but I won't believe you at all. Oh, and I don't want this anymore, even though you did nothing wrong. I just have an ugly soul. Maybe I was meant to be alone, alone. So I sought out the arms of another, and I let go again and again. For if I find myself a lover, I have to fit right in. So please let there be a person to hold close to me at night. This loneliness is killing me slowly, and my heart is drifting like a kite. And you should be here next to me, and I'll trace the outlines of your body, and you'll tell me that I look beautiful. Oh, and I'll say thanks, love, but I won't believe you at all. Oh, and I don't want this anymore, even though you did nothing wrong. I just have an ugly soul. Maybe I was meant to be alone, alone.
Drink it with gin or drink with the white. Drink an appropriate amount of that thin slide. Drink it for peace or drink it to fight. Drink an appropriate amount of that thin slide. Go to bed at 8 or party all night. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light. Athens Light. Athens Light. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light. Enjoy Athens Light at Pizza on the Farm every Friday and Saturday. Stony Acres Brewing, Athens, Wisconsin. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light.
Right. We're there? We're there. I think we're there. Should be in. Should be on. Let's get that showing. There you go. Okay, hey, welcome. Happy Sunday. Welcome to a special session of the Midwest Music Hour here live from the living room. Today with Ethan Bott from Marquette, Michigan. He's been stomping around the Northwoods here, or, you know, for him it's the Southwoods maybe. But played a show over at the Catalyst Wine Bar here in Rhinelander on Thursday night. Visited Eagle River's Warehouse Center for the Arts on Friday. Had a little partaking in the song circle at the Sustainability Fair yesterday at Nicolay College, and wrapped up with a night at Rocky's Roadhouse there, just east of town. Anyway, hey, good afternoon, Ron. How are things down south, man? Good to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. And but yeah, so we got Ethan over here at the living room right now before he heads on back home. And man, it was great to have you in the area playing music and sharing songs, and excited for you to be in the living room today to sit down and chat about music and stuff like that. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be here, Scott. Thank you for getting this hooked up. It was a good way for me to kind of break into the fun little music scene here in Wisconsin. Although I wouldn't really say it's little. You guys got a pretty big, robust, and widespread music scene around here. It's pretty cool, and glad to be able to dip my toes into it a little bit this weekend.
For sure, yeah. It was, you know, it can always be. Well, you feel all sorts of stuff. Maybe it's scary, maybe it's exciting and scary. But, you know, we're talking about, you know, when you're traveling far from home, playing your music, doing your thing. Sometimes it's just, you never know what's going to happen, and it's always nice to, you know, be well received. First off, like, people seem to enjoy what you got, your music and the songs and stuff. And, you know, always good to meet good people and play good music, and, you know, hopefully have a good time, right, and all that. But but you never really know what you might encounter out there, you know.
Yeah.
So, tragedy, death and destruction, all that sort of craziness, and otherwise. But really nice to, yeah, just get out of the comfort zone every once in a while, test the waters, see what's out there. And but hey, before we get into too much of that, you feel like kicking off with a song, and then make sure levels are good there on that end of things. And,
yeah, that sounds just lovely.
Cool.
All right. Well, start off with a little fun one before we get a little serious with things. Here's one. I wrote this a couple years ago now. It was during the summer, and my now fiance and I were out cruising around at my uncle's property out in the woods, just doing some scouting and whatnot. And we were in my little, just tiny little Jeep Liberty at the time, and we were getting on these back roads, and it was getting, you know, a little muddy and stuff, so we had to switch her into four-wheel, and we kind of came up with a few lines to that for just like at the time, just kind of joking around, thinking of like a cheesy little country song. But I later on sat down and actually wrote a whole song out of it, and it's become one of my favorite and most fun tunes to play. And this one, it was on my first little EP I released last year that was called Saddle Up, and it's going to be on my new record I got coming out too, hopefully in a month or two. That one will be called Ass on the Saddle. And this song, it actually is opened, it's going to open this new album, but here it is. It's Switcher into Four Wheel. Switch her into four wheel. She's not wearing high heels. She's got on some Wranglers, snip toe boots. She's danger. Been cruising down them back roads since 1:45. You're getting it done. Just a Chevy and my baby and me and a low-hitting sun. All right. Yeah, she's an easy way to spend a Saturday. Makes me high driving with her riding passenger seat. Ain't nothing I could need, nothing I could want, just her and me. Yeah, and that old pickup truck. Whoa. Whoa, all right. Oh, packed a case of Miller, last on through the night. 4 cords of firewood, last to daylight. 60 miles from nothing but the nearest town. That's how my baby likes it. It's me and her around. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, she's like waking up sober on a Sunday, staying up until 6 a.m. sun in summertime. Ain't no city girl, she's as country as hell, and she's doing me, yeah, pretty well. Yeah, she's an easy way to spend a Saturday. Makes me high driving with her riding passenger seat. Ain't nothing I could need, nothing I could want, just her and me. That old pickup truck. Oh. Oh, oh, yeah.
Nice. So that'll be on the new record.
Yes, it will. Yeah, along with 6 other tracks. I'm repeating that one and another tune of mine that's called Ain't No Honky Tonks in Michigan. And that was on my last EP too, but we really put the honky tonk in it this time. So I'm really excited for these fresh recordings. And Ain't No Honky Tonks too. Keep on the lookout for that because we're shooting a music video for that, and that's going to be wicked. So
very cool. There's a studio that you work with there in Marquette?
Yes, it's probably one of the best sound guys in the Upper Peninsula. His name's Ryan Staples, and he's got a little studio there. It's called Dead River Sound, and he's been recording a lot of people in the area. So I'm very fortunate that I got to work with him on this, and hopefully get to do some projects with him in the future as well.
That's awesome. Are you going in with you have a band? Are you going in the studio with these guys, or does he have different session players, or him himself? Is he a musician?
Yeah, so
play those tracks.
Well, he is a musician. He's not doing any music on these tracks. So the group that I was working with this past summer of 2022, we were calling ourselves the Bottlenecks, and so we kind of had a summer doing some gigs, and we went in there in September and we laid down the tracks with the full band, and and then I went back in myself and laid some more stuff on as a solo, and so we've been mixing all that together then.
Right on. And instrumentation, are we looking at a pretty traditional format in terms of, like you said, you really honky tonked it up, right?
Yeah.
So we got somewhat like steel guitar and.
Yes. We got so the Bottleneck lineup is mainly four of us is sort of the root. That's my fiddle player and Brennan Brooker. Then I have my drummer Liam Joyce and our bassist Raymond R.J. Little. And then on top of that, I did some acoustic guitar. I did a wee bit of electric guitar as well. And then I hired some guns to fill in the rest. Tyler Detloff, he's based out of the Sioux area. Fantastic guitarist, really good with blues, but lays down the country stuff and everything else just with a nice ease. So he's doing some guitar tracks on that. And then I got also a friend of mine who I met a couple years ago through music, Matt Sales. He's actually a Wisconsinite based out of Eau Claire. He has a really cool band too. They're called the Driftless Revelers, but he laid down some slide for me. So he did some pedal steel and some lap steel. So yeah, that should add some nice elements of country and rock.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, we were having breakfast, and I really dig the artwork. You mentioned that there's an artist that you work with for some of your designs and stuff like that. Your T-shirts, this album artwork.
Yeah.
And is that does she do that for other people too, or is she just kind of your?
No, she does. Yeah, she's a professional, and it's Chloe Creations is the name of her business, and she really knocks out anything I throw at her. So she did my T-shirts, and those have just sold great, and people just love them. I think that they don't even like me as much as they just think they're cool T-shirts. So that's good though. And then so then I had her do this album for me too, the album cover for this new album, and it's nice because it creates this sort of synchronicity with my aesthetic for that. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's always really great when an artist can get paired with, another artist with this different medium stuff. You hook up with a visual artist who can really captivate, an essence of what you're going for with your music, and drum up those visual ideas and stuff like that. Creative in that manner. It's just it's like the whole package thing. I was talking to Tom Jordan out of. He lives down in Wausau, Wisconsin here, but he's had a couple different bands and whatnot, been at it for a while, but it's always great artwork, with his T-shirts, or they did skate decks at one point,
that's
and,
fun.
Album artwork, and
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they even did like a cartoon where they were like superheroes,
Oh, no way.
something like that, and so it's always very cool to just like bring a couple of those worlds together. Because we're talking about that too, the visual impression that people get, when they see you or they pick up that CD, are they looking at your face, or are they looking at a cool piece of art? Does that inspire them to, check out your music online, or, dig further, or put it down perhaps?
Right, yeah. And that's why I chose this album artwork, because I thought it was fun, it was kind of goofy, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, that might be a little more like attractive and fun than just my messy mug on the cover there.
I don't want him to see my face.
No.
Yeah. What was your first introduction to music growing up? Were your folks big into playing music around the house? Was there a particular concert or something? What kind of sparked your interest in music, I guess?
Yeah.
Your earliest memory?
Yeah, that's an interesting one to trace back. My family was lightly musical. My grandmother was a huge pianist, very talented on the piano, and she taught piano. And that translated. My mom was active. She sang in like the church choir and whatnot, and had my sister and I do that as kids. And I guess it kind of all culminated at the same time. I tried out for, when I was in 4th grade, the musical Scrooge. I think I sang like a hymn or something for that. But it was around that same time where I was, my mom bought me a guitar, and I was taking guitar lessons, and it'd been a few months, and they were teaching me all the basic stuff, you know, and it just really wasn't exciting me. And then one day my guitar teacher taught me that little lick from Wake Me Up When September Ends, you know, that like da-da-da-da-da-da. And then that just kind of like sparked something in me, and the fact that I could now play what Green Day did was pretty incredible to me. And it was a few months after that where I watched that movie Walk the Line with Johnny Cash, and that kind of did me in. I became obsessed with Johnny Cash for like a year or two, for a minute. Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to be Johnny.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So maybe Johnny Cash was one of your first kind of in the genre artists that you walk now.
Yeah.
After Johnny, were you into like who was next? Was it like a Merle Haggard or Waylon Jennings?
Waylon Jennings, that's where I'll give my dad some credit. He was into Waylon Jennings. He talked to me about how back in the day, you know, in Remus, Michigan, he'd be, as a high schooler, they'd be off on their dirt bikes and have like Waylon on like a little portable radio thing, listen to Waylon Jennings. So he got me into some of the Waylon and Willie around that same time. Highwaymen, and I was just kind of getting into some of that outlaw stuff at a pretty young age.
Cool. You still listen to a lot of that nowadays, or are you kind of putting ears on, you know, newer artists, or focused on stuff that you're writing and creating?
Right. I think like mainly I am focused on like what I'm writing and creating, and trying to get more and more an ear for like some of the current stuff, and trying to expand, or even just like digging deeper into like older, more obscure stuff. But still, like, those guys are always just like great to hook back to. You know, some days you throw their CD on in the car, and you just, you know, going back to square one, you know. So it's definitely something I always revisit. But at the same time, as far as where I'm drawing my influences from, I would definitely say I've deviated from that now. And I'm trying to get into some different kind of stuff. But because those roots are kind of sowed, you know, those seeds have been planted. So
a day without Willie Nelson is like a day without breathing. It just isn't possible. That's that could go on a T-shirt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, way cool. Are there? Yeah. Speaking of that, who are some of these artists nowadays that you're kind of drawn to? In terms of looking up to them in the alt country, or I guess just, you know, the broader genre of country music, who's really turning your dial?
Yeah, so I guess a few I could revisit. This is kind of one. This was a couple years ago now too, but like Sturgill Simpson was a big influence for me. And actually, you know, I gotta say, a couple years ago too, I think what really got me to revisit Austin, Texas, this was kind of one of those things where it was all culminating at the same time, but it was Orville Peck. His first album, Pony, I thought was sweet. I thought the direction was really clear. There was like a really neat vision for it, and it was a very forward-thinking alt country album, and that really opened my eyes to the possibilities of, hey, these genres that I love, you know, the Johnny Cash, this can be brought in a new and current way and be exciting without just like mimicking what they did, but rather reinventing it and pushing it forward. And I think he did that. I think Sturgill Simpson does a nice job of that in a different way. So yeah, both of those I think are two I could point to within the last couple years. But also, I really like spaghetti western soundtracks. So like the Once Upon a Time in the West soundtrack, song I play at like almost every set is Django from, most people would probably think Django Unchained, but it was actually from a movie from the 1960s directed by Sergio Corbucci called Django. So yeah, a lot of the instrumental music though I really love. And one more that I've gotten into recently that's pretty obscure was this guy named Lauren Green. He was an old actor, also a singer, and he's got this album. It's kind of like, I guess you could say, a concept album called Portrait of the West. And like half of it's almost like a narrative. He's just got this really deep, crazy voice, and it's just all songs about, the Wild West. So that's kind of a neat, more obscure one, what would they call it? Like a deep take or whatever.
Yeah, deep cuts, right?
Yeah, deep cut, yeah. That's a deep cut.
It's very underground.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Marquette has a pretty, maybe outwardly budding music scene, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity. It's a college town. A lot of people coming in. There's the Hiawatha Music Festival that happens. It's kind of, centered around the Marquette area, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, how does that feel to be part of that music scene up there? Is it, is it difficult to be a full-time artist in that area? Is it, are there more opportunities? Perhaps it's like maybe that makes it easier, not having to travel so far, but still being able to, maybe work a few nights a week in that same market. What's kind of your overall experience with that, and what can you tell us about the Marquette scene?
Well, I think to start, I think the great thing about it is, I was living down in Austin in 2019, 2020 before COVID hit, and kind of rediscovering this love for songwriting and kind of deciding like, okay, I want to like dig into this more and start doing this more. And I moved back to Marquette, and the COVID time gave me a time to really build up like sets, and I just learned covers and whatnot, and got a few hours worth of material done. And Marquette allowed me then to kind of, being this inexperienced live performer, get some opportunities that I'm sure I could have found in other cities, but Marquette was very like accessible as far as like getting those chances to play and kind of make mistakes and sharpen my repertoire and all that good stuff, So that was a really cool advantage. A disadvantage is you're kind of far away. There's not, I wouldn't say like Marquette's a place where you can be gigging every weekend. There are some people that like do it in town maybe, but there aren't like tons of venues where you can have a show every week in Marquette. So a lot of times you're having to look at places outside the area, and that's where the disadvantage comes too, is within the UP, a lot of small towns, but any like bigger hub is, a good drive away. So that's like a little bit of a downfall, but overall it's good though. Still a lot of opportunity, and in the summer you got places like Downstate, Traverse City, Muskegon, and places like that where it's just tourist central, and a lot of opportunity there, and even just Marquette in itself. So in that sense, that's very nice.
You ever have to pack some pasties for the road?
I've never packed a pasty.
Never packed a pasty.
Never packed a pasty, but I've packed some other things. I like beef jerky, I guess. Cheese. You guys would maybe appreciate that here in Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what my pal Justin says. He hits the summer mode sometimes, and it's just like beef jerky and jar of cashews or something like that.
Yeah, peanuts are nice.
Protein energy on the road.
Yeah, fruit.
Going.
Fruit's good. Coffee.
Well, would you like to play another song?
Yeah, I would. Here's another one. I like this one a lot. This is, I wrote this kind of around the same time of that switcher into four-wheel. And this is on Saddle Up. Didn't redo this one for Ass on the Saddle, but in the future I would definitely like to revisit this song and re-record it because I really like it. But it's called Only the Strongest. Well, I've been knocked down before. Yeah, this ain't nothing new. Broken taillights and back doors, betting lost on games of pool. In some dive bar in some town, but I really don't think about it now. Cause my daddy told me long ago, said, son, there ain't much that I know, but what I do, I've learned it well, that's why I'm telling you. You gotta be strong, you gotta be tough, you're gonna get knocked down, you gotta get back up. You'll have your heart broken a time or two. Gonna get hit, gotta hit back, gonna get pushed to your limit, take it farther than that, cause only the strongest gonna make it through. And yeah, my daddy told me this, so I'd be strong too. Well, that one girl in Seattle, I only met her in the dark, in some broken down apartment. There's still a piece of this boy's heart. And somewhere down in Houston, the good guy didn't get the girl. Oh, but it don't matter anyhow, cause I keep on moving like that old corn plow. Believe me, these old highways never end. When you're strong, when you're tough, when you get knocked down and you get right back up, when you've had your heart broken a time or two. When you get hit, then you hit back. When you get pushed to your limit, take it farther than that. Cause only the strongest gonna make it through. And yeah, my daddy told me this, and I'm telling you. And I've seen my own hometown covered in concrete, and the freedom I once found has been paved down by cement streets. Sometimes it feels all's falling down, then I look up to see blue skies, baby, and they just remind me. Well, it's been so many years since last I saw his face, and we sold that old farmhouse, and we left without a trace. And so much ain't the same, but some things never change. Like the words my daddy told me, only the strongest will remain. Only the strongest, only the strongest
longest. Will remain.
That's great. I dig that a lot.
Thank you.
And there's something about country music and it's, you know, the stories. That's really what, I mean, it's really what makes the genre so great, right? Those relatable stories that that we all can connect to.
Yeah.
You find, is that, you know, do you have an aversion to that sometimes? Or is, I mean, there's certainly, okay, so there's like commonality in experiences and whatnot, but there's also, you know, shoot, not every song can be about like drinking in trucks and, you know, all that type of stuff or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find sometimes like that some of that modern country gets a little outside of the realm of, or at least away from kind of like where those roots are in storytelling and whatnot?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, that's like a pretty like popular consensus among a lot of people. And like somebody like me, I mean, like I like the modern country, like it's fun, you know. I like to like throw on the radio and just like kind of get goofy. But yeah, you know, I mean, it's part of a system, you know. It's like McDonald's or something. They're just, you know, spitting out stuff to be consumed, you know, and then ready for the next thing. And it's you know, overall like superficial and shallow and yeah, you know. But you know, some of the it's funny too though, because like some of the, like the most country people I know, you know, they love that kind of music too. So there's still, it's like undeniably still got country. It's country in a way, but also, yeah, I think from a musical standpoint, if you're like tracing back the roots, and like I would say, you know, country, like bluegrass, you know, that's like when it gets down to it, like bluegrass is where it's at, and that's where it is, and like stemmed from. And I mean, then you can get into where bluegrass stemmed from, and that never ends. You know, you just keep tracing back to the beginning of time. But you know, we can just start with bluegrass for, you know, to keep it, you know, keep it in a box. But yeah, you know, if you go to bluegrass, you know, when you listen to a bluegrass song, lately I keep saying it's like time traveling, because it takes you back to the days where they were working all day, they were working the farms, they were doing this and that, and what did they do when they were done? They just chilled out on the porch, and everyone grabbed their instruments, and they just had a big jamboree, and you know, had fun. So, you know, that's really what country is. It's making noise on your back porch, making noise in your kitchen, you know. And that's all it is, you know, really. Yeah, and it's a song, it's a story, something simple, but very worldly and pertaining to the human experience at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
It's what, you know, country. It's about hardships too. I mean, farmers, it's hard. You know, a lot of it's like poverty, and you're just trying to make enough out of your, you know, the season's harvest and whatever to make it through the next year, you know, to be able to supply your family with the food, and then also be able to like sell enough to, you know, get on to the next year. So yeah, I think any style of music, a lot of times it was to, you know, relieve some of the suffering that is imposed on us from this world.
Yeah. Sort of like being a musician, feast and famine, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. They go hand in hand. That's why I love country so much. You know,
Yeah.
There's kind of similarities.
Do you? How about co-writing? Have you done any co-writing with people? I was just chatting with Tay about that the other day, and you know, some of those co-writing experiences that she had had. But I'm, you know, as I asked that, part of me wonders, you know, sure, is it a little bit more isolated where you live, and maybe a little bit more difficult to, you know, to get together with somebody on something like that, or you know, sometimes people are writing from their personal experiences and places, you know, stuff that happened to them and all that sort of stuff. And it could be, you know, them working through that as kind of their, you know, therapy or whatnot, the medicine and stuff like that when we talk about healing through experiences and whatnot. And that can be difficult to share with other people or work through with somebody else. But I guess where are you at on that? Have you gone through that and collaborated with other people, or is that something that you're interested in or not interested in? Or?
Yeah. So no, I haven't really done any collaborating. A few times with my fiddle player, I'll run a song by him. He'll give me a few tips. There was a song we recently did that he gave me just a couple really subtle things, but I really enjoyed them, and they helped tweak the song a little bit. And but beyond that, no, I really haven't ever sat down with an artist and gone tit for tat with songs. And I'd very much be interested in doing that. Because yeah, writing isn't as much the emotional side for me. Of course, that can happen, you know, if I'm like you know, that'll happen. But I'm also like, I'm very much a writer too. Like I got a writing degree when I went to school, so I'm very much into just like the craft, kind of like the detached craft of it as well. Like I think you get to a point where the emotion is just a given, you know, like you're gonna have that emotion. You know, I can enter my little world of make believe and create those emotions. So, you know, yeah, I would very much like to collaborate though with other writers and you know, see, you know, piece things together, or even like bring some of my songs. Like I think that would be interesting. Like there was even like a Garth Brooks song that I was reading about that he wrote, and then like you know, some other people looked it over and they changed things because like their main goal is to like make it like accessible to listeners. They want, you know, as many people to like it as they can, which is, you know, there's interesting sides to that. But I think it would be cool, you know, what the ideas people could have for like, hey, you know, maybe try this, or maybe instead of singing about this, maybe we change it to like this topic, you know. I think of the song Sexy Sadie by the Beatles. And John Lennon originally wrote that about some guru they had been working with, and it was all about this, like, you know, I don't know who the guy was, but when they were in that era of their state, and some guru John Lennon wrote it about, and then I think it was George Harrison who was kind of like, you know, I don't think anyone really wants to hear about that, so how about we change it to like Sexy Sadie and make it this kind of provocative song about a lady.
There he was, yeah, there's pretty good guidance there, yeah. The checks and balances, right?
Yeah.
Bring it down there. Wow, yeah, that's,
So,
right. Sometimes I think, you know, that creative element can come together differently for people.
yeah.
So I hear some people say, you know, like a Jack White of the world or whatever, he's like, oh gosh, you know, it's like you almost go to a different place when you're writing and you're tapping into some, you know, universal, you know, consciousness or something like that. And so, and then you're expressing what sort of might need to be expressed within the universe. And, you know, it gets really kind of deep and, you know, amazing to get to a level like that, or, you know, perceivably or in actuality, whatever it might be, you know, or people talk about being in the flow, if you will, you know, where you're just kind of able to, you know, formulate things without even really, you know, being in kind of like conscious of it. You know, it's like you're not making those choices.
Yeah.
They're like just working through you. And what you're saying now is kind of a different. It's a different perspective on that as well. You know, if you're a writer, you know, trained and schooled or whatnot, you know, there's a cadence to it. There's a format to it. You know, everybody knows there's, you know, the typical song form, you know, like a blues form or, you know, like maybe a standard jazz form or something like that. So it's sort of like a haiku, right? A haiku has framework.
Yeah.
Right? Something that, like, it can't be a non-haiku, right? It's always got to follow the rules that are set within those parameters.
Right.
And in a way, writing can be similar, right? It can have firm parameters that you can't go beyond, right? But at the same time, it's also one of those mediums where it does lend itself to breaking those rules or not having rules to begin with.
Yeah.
But so just because you're schooled in maybe the techniques or those frameworks of writing, maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't tap into some, universal ethos or whatnot, or I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about when you hear people talk, or have you heard people mention that when it comes to their songwriting processes?
Like the magical thunderbolt of inspiration. Oh yeah. I mean, I still stand by that too. I'm kind of like a toolbox guy, so I have a few different ways. But I think like the magic thunderbolt inspiration spark. That's like the best. That's where the best stuff comes from. I think even the best songs I think of mine were kind of like they just flowed out. I didn't have to try, and it was just like something hit me, and this like stroke of inspiration came. So I definitely stand by that too. I think I just don't want to like always have to rely on that because, of course, as anyone knows too, then that's a little bit, you can't always just call upon that, but maybe you want to write a song one day. And so it's interesting, it's different, deliberate songs can be fun. I wrote a historical song out of this like historical Upper Peninsula book. So like that wasn't as much like inspiration as that was like finding the details to this story and like putting them out in song format, But then I'll play a few songs here in a bit that are those more like thunderbolt, just like they just flowed right out. And I think a lot of writers say too, but the best songs are the ones you don't have to try, they just come out. So I definitely stand by that still as well. But I just I think it's fun to have a few choices too when the inspiration's a little dry.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to plow through it and write a bunch of crap for a while or something. But I think, the more you work at it and do it too, the more those episodes of inspiration seem to come. So,
Sure, and maybe the notion of being open, right? If you're open, then it's possible, right? If you're closed off or, kind of in tunnel vision or something on one thing or another. Makes it more difficult.
Yeah, I think, I wrote 3 songs while I was here in the Hodag house. Maybe that was just the spirit of the Hodag. Yeah, 3, and they all came out pretty easy, and I don't know, there's one I'm pretty stoked about. The other 2 are like maybe decent, I don't know. But I've been having a hard time writing in Marquette though. I've been blocked up. I think it's being in my hometown and whatnot, and I'm just getting a little bit worn out there. And I've been having like it's been weird. And so that was kind of nice though, but that might be an indicator that a change of scene is maybe in store for old Ethan sometime soon here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that is that is the nice thing about being out on the road that I always come back to. It's it's great to go out and experience new places and new faces, and it's almost a reboot or a reset for when you get back home. If you were in a little rut, maybe that reset button has been pushed, and things will start happening again in different ways, or sometimes it makes you appreciate home better, but sometimes it's but maybe it's just been I guess too, we're kind of, geez man, still like things with the pandemic and whatnot, still seem to be somewhat affecting industry stuff in terms of travel and groups, people together, and all that sort of all that stuff. So it's I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of factors can go into those feelings and the happenings and stuff like that. But yeah, well, that's amazing. I mean, I'm glad that you had that opportunity.
I think it was the Hodag.
To do so. It was probably the Hodag, right?
Yeah, there were a few of those suckers hanging around. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really cool place too. If you're local and you haven't been down to the Hodag store to see Ben, and if you haven't checked out the Hodag House of Hodags on Airbnb, be sure to give that a look at. And yeah, it was actually pretty cool. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later, but we did a couple one-off songs and stuff the other day there, and so hopefully that'll be up on the channel when we get it put together and everything. That'll be really cool. Looking forward to sharing that with everybody. But yeah, no, way cool. I'm glad that you had a little source of inspiration there and the ability to put it together. Because sometimes it is like, isolation or being alone? I don't know. Do you live with other people?
No,
Okay.
I am fortunate enough to live by myself. Yeah.
Cool.
I like being alone.
Yeah, that solitude and stuff, like, tough to. Sometimes it's a headspace that you got to go block out the world, and then you could be like in the middle of a large metro area or on a subway or something like that, and writing, just blocking everything else out. And
Yeah.
other times you're like in an actual atmosphere environment where that's not even necessary.
Yeah, I feel like when you live in the city, you get pretty good at blocking stuff out. You know, it's like, oh, there's like a million sirens going off right now. I don't hear it.
Everybody's got their AirPods on.
Yeah.
Just doing their own thing. Well,
oh,
cool.
There's somebody. Never mind. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let's get into another song, Ethan.
Yeah.
What you got on the dock there?
Well, perhaps I'll bust out my old harmonica.
Ooh.
Get a little. My G harmonica is getting, like, the reeds are getting flat and stuff, so I don't know, but I'll give it a shot. But yeah, here's a song. This one's called Backroads. I was just sitting, it was like the summer, and I kind of just like, this was another one, it just really just popped out. I guess I just wanted to, I don't even know, just trying to write something kind of like creative. Back roads got me so cold when I left my home, searching for where you went, the time we spent, the things you said to me, trying to piece back a broken window. But days drip heavy like some jelly rain, and I tried to patch the window with some cellophane, changing how the morning light comes through inside. But I'm done wandering, wandering, wandering through the night. Oh, Jesus, please release me with your light. Escaping things I tried to change, it was all in vain. It still remains, but it don't hold. The stories told ain't turned them cold, and I keep turning pages towards tomorrow. And night hits softer in its last refrain, gently sweeping over the remaining pain, taking and releasing all the covers bare. And I'm done wandering, wandering, wandering through the night. Oh, Jesus, please release me with your light. Oh, Jesus, please release me with your light. Oh, Jesus, please release me with your light.
What are some, like, where's, okay, so if there's an artist that you could share the stage with somewhere, is there a guy like that somewhere? Is it like the Sturgill Simpson, like, oh, that'd be like a dream show or something like that? I guess, yeah, when you think about stuff like that, aspirations, goals,
Yeah.
Stuff like that, who's that artist, and where's that stage for you? Like what would we call those, like, milestone moments in your musical career? Like, it'd be like
Well, I would love to, like, I think getting down to, like, Austin, like, doing a show at the, like, White Horse, which, that's just, like, a honky-tonk bar in Austin. But I would love to, like, there's a local artist down there when I lived there named Jonathan Terrell. And he's, I think, really cool artist, musician, another guy. He's doing, like, a neat thing with country. It's forward moving, it's exciting, rock, but he can really lay into some of the more meaningful acoustic moments as well. I think it'd really be fun to, like, open for him. And then, yeah, I mean, like, somebody like, yeah, like Sturgill Simpson, I guess, or I don't, somebody, yeah, like that, or I don't know, someone who's very, vocally driven like me. That would be, like, meaningful to get to open for an artist like that. And just like I think, like, for me, like, a nice theater, a nice, like, auditorium would be cool. I don't have any, like, off the top of my head to name, but just, like, for me, having some background with acting and theater, I really like that environment. Everyone's sitting down, listening. So something like that would be really, really neat and special for me.
Yeah, you find a lot of performances currently are, like festivals or dive bars, stuff like that,
Yeah.
Honky tonks.
Honky tonks, which those are all great too,
Yeah.
But there's something special, I think, about a theater. I think kind of going to, like, songwriting, that special, like, lightning bolt of songwriting, something about everyone sitting in a room together just, like, in silence and, like, sharing this kind of quiet, peaceful thing that any just, like, noise could disrupt it. There's something special about that. I don't think people are quiet. Well, okay, I mean, it depends, but yeah, I think, like, silence is really important. I think people could appreciate silence more maybe these days, especially in our noisy world. You go back 200 years and whatnot, and it was, like, a lot more quiet, and now we noise all over and interfering with our cerebral tranquility. So, yeah, I think there's something special about, it's like meditation or prayer, there's something to it, and everyone's sharing for an hour, 2 hour in this room, this thing, everyone's a part of it,
Yeah, and I guess with that, does that open the door to be more expressive or be more vulnerable with your performance and your music? I guess, when you're doing a 3-4 hour rip at a dive bar, it's a lot of cover tunes. It's a lot of, sure, it's a window to your, inspiration and aspiration and, songs that you love, hopefully. Otherwise it's like, it can be really a big soul sucker if you're just there playing other people's songs and you don't really enjoy those particular songs, right?
Yeah.
At least you get to do songs that you like, and share those with people. But is that, do you find that you're limited sometimes by the amount of original music that you'll end up playing in an evening based on that performance situation?
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of, I mean, even that song I just played, Backroads, like, I don't know, people would probably enjoy that, but sometimes it's just like you're in a rowdy bar and stuff. It's like, I'm not going to play that. I'm going to play Chattahoochee, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that I think bums me out sometimes is, yeah, being able to play some of those more intimate, personal songs. I'll play, a few more while we're here today. And, yeah, and I think emotional vulnerability and expression, I think, is withheld in those 3-hour, like, bar gigs. You don't really need to, be giving, like, you're, like, giving 100% in, like, a work ethic way, I would say. Like, you're playing the songs right, you're, like, giving it action. But, like, that deeper, like, subconscious, like, meaningful thing, you know, maybe gets forgone a little bit because people just, that's kind of like it's a two-way street too. The audience isn't necessarily like wanting to receive that in a way. Like I can sing it pretty and there'll be emotion to it, but yeah, I'm sure if I was in like a theater, I'm going to be getting a little deeper personally, and you're going to sense that. Just like, again, like when I was an actor and stuff, also, you know, like rehearsal, I think you get to a point where you experiment in rehearsal and you like get to that emotion, but then it's like the show, you're like really going hard as far as like living as that character and experiencing those emotions and letting that project to the audience. So yeah, I think in the same way, the live performance has different demands depending on what kind of show you're doing. And just like the same, like even if you're doing like I don't know, I've never done anything like this, of course, but like a huge like arena thing, you think like that's a lot of projection in a way, and maybe like some of that intimate like connection is lost because you're just like pushing out and hyping and whatnot, you know, and people are watching you, you know, 100 yards away on a jumbotron, you know.
Yeah, you're very isolated in some ways, you know. I mean, they're like all around you in this big arena, but it's not like they're spitting distant. Well, maybe they're spitting distance, but
yeah, depending on how good of a spitter you are too, you know.
Yeah, the right. Even some, you know, even some festivals can feel that way. You know, we've got a little space between you and the audience. You know, what do they call that? The pit for like photographers and stuff like that. They'll create a little space between the performers and the audience. You know, for that type of opportunity and the security and all that sort of stuff. And cripes, yeah, if it's a really poorly attended event, you know, that distance just becomes even more magnified.
Yeah.
But shoot, you know, they say that you gotta. That's just part of it, right? Not every show is going to be gangbusters wall to wall, and sometimes you're going to have, you know, empty rooms.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, you know, like you know, still, you know, maybe there's two people there, and it's like, okay, you still want to make it special for them if they're interested, if they're just talking to each other the whole time, or whatever. But if they're actually watching you and stuff, it's like, okay, like they still deserve like a decent show, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's tough to phone it in any night of the week, no matter what the crowd's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot. Yeah. Well, I'd be down for another song if you'd like to.
Cool.
You got some more in your.
Yeah, I do. I think I've done. I had like I came here with like a few I wanted to like do. So there's like three left that I really wanted to do. But then if we have more or less time, we can do whatever with that too.
Sure. Yeah, we got. I don't have anybody scheduled for after you.
No.
So.
All right.
I don't have to cut to a different program.
All right. Here's another maybe like songwriter-y song. I think I would say for me this was kind of like one of those magical ones. I didn't even really know I knew like what I wanted to write about, but I wasn't like intentionally thinking about it. I was kind of just letting like the feelings come through. I wrote this, I was living down in Austin. This was in October, and we were selling my family home up in the UP that we owned for like 30 plus years. And I couldn't be there, so to kind of like memorialize the time, I just, and to express the emotions, I wrote this song. And I was pretty like I was in like a Townes Van Zandt kind of period. I thought he was really cool at the time. I was living down in Austin, so you could kind of like in a way like feel that inspiration, because that was like his stomping ground, you know. So yeah, this one, it's called "The Good Old Day to Die." Might get a little tune first. Thinking maybe maybe something's a little off. So I'll share a little. One thing that kind of inspired me for this song too was, so my dad and my sister, they spread my mom's ashes in the garden here at the house, at the old house, the final day. So I couldn't be there for that. So that was kind of, a bummer. And I told my dad that. I said, I'm bummed I couldn't be there. And he said, "Oh, you were there," So I thought that was kind of special. Under all these rocks and phases, something rests that's still remaining, but I won't twist my cheek. Gotta restart this one more time. I was in the wrong key there. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. Under all these rocks and phases, something rests that's still remaining, but I won't twist my cheek and call it gold, 'cause it shows you're getting old. Hands turning, pages wander, I miss the part mother and father. I'm wishing I was back where I was born. In a way, I'm always home. So say goodbye to what is still remembered, and say goodbye to what's not coming back. And I'll be saying goodbye, if only in my mind. Ain't gonna see it when it dies, telling myself that this happens all the time. In the light of dawn's tomorrow, what's left over fills the shadows. Words you said still linger near the sun, and another evening comes. In a haze of moon's confusion, an echo sounds the night's illusions, casting off reflections of ago, and they're clearing off this road. So say goodbye to what is still remembered, and say goodbye to what's not coming back. And I'll be saying goodbye, if only in my mind. Ain't gonna see it when it dies, telling myself that this happens all the time. And with that in mind, well, it's a good old day to die.
Good day to die. That's like a line in that movie Smoke Signals.
I don't think who's in that. I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, I have to Smoke Signals. It's where is it? Features indigenous life on the res.
It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, it's got a. Yeah, you have to do a Netflix and chill with that one sometime.
All right.
It's a great film. Yeah. Let's talk about your Gibson there.
Yeah.
Beautiful acoustic guitar there.
Thank you very much. It's walnut.
Yeah. Was there how did you stumble upon that one? Everybody sometimes has their own, like, this is my instrument story, or I saw it hanging in the shop, or it was just the one for me, or did you actively seek out that particular style or model based on genre, or somebody else who maybe played it? What's your origin story with your Gibson there?
Yeah, so this is a Gibson SJ100. It's a little bit of a scaled back version of their really iconic SJ200. Dylan's holding one up on the album cover to Nashville Skyline. Emmylou Harris is always using. Everyone's got one. Luke Combs.
I don't have one. Hey, I need one.
Scott, we gotta change that. We gotta get you one. I don't have one either. I have an SJ100. So, yeah. And let's say that anyone with $1 million or more, probably, who's a full country singer, probably has one. It's all decked out and bedazzled and has their name engraved and XYZ. Has their name across the fretboard.
Oh yeah, the inlay.
Yeah, mine's not as bedazzled. The 200s have like the pearl here, and they have the thick square pearl on the frets and other bells and whistles, yada yada. No, so I always thought those were sweet, but I was also like, I don't have $6,000. So I wasn't really like, I was like, I'm not going to get one of those. But, so where my fiance is from, Waterford, Michigan, which, there's a music store there called like Motor City Music, I think, or some Motor City Guitar, I don't know, something like that. And it's kind of neat, it's like a guitar center, big, warehouse emporium type thing. And been there a few times, and I was kind of in the market for a new guitar, a new acoustic. I wanted something I could plug in. I'd been using this really sweet old Yamaha. I think it was like from the 80s. My dad's friend, his name is Jack, but I like to call him Cowboy Jack because he's a cowboy. He'd do like the pistol shooting on horses, like arena, they have like paper rounds and they ride on the horse and they shoot the balloons and stuff. He like did that, and they had horses, and great guy. And he gave me that guitar, and so I named it Cowboy Jack. And so it's a cool, again, old Yamaha. So I was using that for a minute, and I would get that like Seymour Duncan like sound hole pickup, but I kind of like didn't, after a while, kind of got sick of it. I didn't like putting that in the guitar all the time. And that was also kind of like a precious guitar, so I didn't want to keep like bringing it to gigs and stuff. So I was kind of like, okay, I want to get like an electric acoustic. So we went down in January, late like December, during the holidays, to visit her family, and I went to the music store, and I was looking for electric acoustics, and I was thinking something a little more chill at the time, like more just like a backup guitar, wasn't really looking for like my main guitar. And there were a few that I was messing around with, and I kind of just picked this one up just to like try it out and stuff. But it sounded really good plugged in. It like sounded better than any of the other ones plugged in. It like kept the most like natural tone. Because how some like acoustic electrics can sound. They can kind of lose a little bit of that special acoustics sound. But this one sounded really cool. It felt really good. It just felt good. It was like, oh, wow, this is sweet. It's a super jumbo. That was more than anything. Like, I didn't care as much about a Gibson. I just wanted a super jumbo. I wanted like a big jumbo guitar because I'm sort of a like bigger guy, So, yeah, I liked this thing a lot. And then we like left though. I didn't buy it, but then I was thinking about it for the next week. So I called them and I put it on layaway. And then we went back down in May last year for my birthday, and I picked it up. I bought it and then brought it back. So I had him hold it for me, and yeah, and it's been. It kind of, it did fit though. I feel like me and this thing go well together, So, yeah. It's my special little guitar, and I like that. I like that it's like a little more modest looking than the SJ200s. Like I don't want all the bedazzle and whatnot. You know, I like something a little more modest. So yeah, it served me well. I really like how it plays. It's interesting, but it's really even, I think, sounding. I feel like people are always think it should sound louder. People are always kind of surprised at kind of how like a little more like mellow it is. They're really bouncy and jumbo, but I like that.
Right on. Yeah, it's just super important to have a roadworthy, instrument that can stand a beating, with all the shows and all the playing that a guy will do.
Yeah.
Do you have a forward? Well, you also play electric guitar at your shows as well. You've got a Telecaster there.
Right.
And do you find that balancing between those two instruments will give the longevity, to the instruments? It's like sharing the load here. Like, it's only it's less playing because you're on the other one, right?
Yeah, I like for like some like more like two rougher bar gigs. I sometimes just like to bring my little cheap little Squire and just use that the whole time. Like this one I like to use when it's maybe like a little more like a special, like like this weekend I wanted to have like my main guitar. But yeah, I also have another guitar back home I didn't bring with me that my sister got me as sort of like a gift, a birthday present. It was like after my like father passed away. And I'd been getting into Willie Nelson at the time, so I really wanted a classical guitar. I had like a junky classical guitar, campfire guitar, because you just play it and then throw it in the campfire when you're done. And but that was messed up. It didn't work past the 9th fret. But I knew I liked the thicker neck on those and the soft nylon strings. So she got me this sweet little classical guitar. So I mixed that in as well. Like sometimes I'm like maybe feeling acoustic, but I don't want to bring this thing. So that also takes the place. So yeah, I got a little rotation. I got another Telecaster I need to maybe get set up again. I've had it set up a million times, but I don't know what I'm doing with it. But get that one ready. I think I know what it needs, so one more time, and that one I might get that back in the rotation too. But yeah, that Squire is nice because I don't care if something happens to it overall. I mean, I would, but it's not a big loss. Where if like this thing's like a bit of an investment,
Yeah, for sure. And I guess would you go for another model similar to that for like your next guitar or quote unquote backup? Or would there be a different kind of thing that you'd shoot for, having already, obtained this one?
Yeah, that could be dependent. I mean, as long as this thing's like, I mean, I hope to pass this down onto like my children and stuff in the future. So hopefully this thing, nothing ever happens to it. But as long as this thing's good, like, I would maybe do like a more like dreadnought, like plain style or something, maybe something like that, So like maybe not quite the jumbo. But I love these, so I'd definitely get another jumbo, but maybe to mix it up. Like my Yamaha, that was like the more like plain dreadnought. So something maybe more like that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a hummingbird, Gibson hummingbird style thing or something, or just like a Martin, D18? Is that the...
Yeah, 28, 18. There's just if it says Martin on it.
Yeah. I found this. I was looking online the other day, or I wasn't looking online. Online was looking at me and feeding me stuff through my Facebook feed, because they've been listening. But they like put this post up for this Martin guitar that was like, like almost $2,000 probably, but it was like they were trying to like make it look like the museum relics, so it was all like torn up and scratched and stuff.
Oh.
And I was just like, that's kind of silly, though.
Yeah.
Buy it like wear it in yourself. I don't know, earn your stripes.
That's like buying jeans with holes in them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's trendy and fashionable, but
yeah.
Oh gosh, it was just 32 degrees below zero yesterday. I'm gonna want all the fabric I can get,
Yeah. So I don't know, but to each their own, I guess. Like, if you want a worn-out looking guitar, I guess.
Well, Gabriel is listening from Marquette and really enjoying
Gabe.
our session.
Gabe, good.
His voice is sounding really great today.
dear friend of mine right there.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for joining us virtually here on the Midwest Music Hour, and it's great to have Ethan here. And what a cool run of shows this little last weekend, a couple days for you. Why don't we get into another song if you give them some more of that beautiful old North Country music.
Well, this will be fitting having Gabe here for this one because this is about a cowboy. So Gabe and has the family cowboy connection. So Gabe and I went down to McBain a couple summers ago. We went to Houston's Cow Camp and Rodeo down in McBain, Michigan. That was a hoot and a holler. So that was pretty cool. It's just like a lot of horses. But I'm gonna tune down to D too. So if we want to have some talk while I'm doing so, we can.
Oh, sure. So is it drop D or is it D modal, or are we doing like a open D chord?
I believe it'd be drop D, just like tuning every string down, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whoa.
I like this tuning. I'm gonna start, I think, doing more in this tuning. I think like Waylon Jennings and them did that a lot. I just do it because I like playing this song in the D formation, like the chord shape, but I don't like where it's a little too high vocally. So like I want to sing it in like C.
Sure. Yeah, you know, and that's another justification. It's another argument for you know, just multiple instruments.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like those guys roll into the show with like a big old road case of like 20 guitars, right? And you know, they're technicians bringing them like the next one. You know, it's like, well, is that an altered tuning, or is it just to you know, make sure that the strings are fresh and you know all that? But it can get you know, yeah, because there are nuances to acoustic guitars just as well. You know, sometimes we only maybe think like, oh, these electric guitars, like those pickups are set up differently, or maybe you know, the vintage has a really big impact on the tone, and you know, so you find like this guitar for this song is what I'm going to use, and then just find another guitar for a different song or whatever. But
yeah, I'm excited for like future recordings, kind of like being able to use like my classical and different strokes for different songs.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause, like these jumbo bodies, you know, do they resonate differently, or you know, they sing a little bit prettier or something in these drop tunings?
Yeah, I like how this sounds in the drop. It's like a little more, gives it a little more mellow, a little lower.
You said it was walnut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I messed up. I wasn't like keeping it in the case, or didn't have a humidifier with it. Those are apparently good things to do when you got a nice guitar. So it was getting a little weird for a minute, but I got a good guitar tech, and he got her fixed back up and schooled me a little bit on proper maintenance.
See, it's a living thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and the climate of Upper Michigan is.
It stinks for guitars. It's like dry. It gets really dry.
Yeah, dry. Well, and it gets its humidity as well.
It's very humid too. Yeah.
You get all those extremes and constricts and contracts. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to play this one. This might be like my favorite song of mine. And yeah, I don't need to say too much about it, but I like this one. It's called "He Turned Into a Cowboy." Well, he turned into a cowboy, turned into something that he lost lost along the way. Son of a gun. Watch him run, run, run. And after all the mama's praying, I'll now look at her little boy. On the saddle, watch him ride. Well, I never believed in simple stories, and I never believed about the truth behind a gun, and I never believed about allegories. But then I saw that cowboy in the sun, and he looked a lot like me, and he looked a lot like you. And through his rotten, dirty teeth, he told a simple kind of truth about a Sunday morning glory and teardrops in the rain, about one man's strife and struggle, striving past the pain. And it made me think of Mama, how many times she used to say, sometimes there's a man there ain't no way you can change. And he turned into a cowboy, turned into something that he lost along the way. Son of a gun. Watch him run, run, run. And after all the mama's praying, now look at her little boy. On the saddle, watch him ride, looking a lot like Jesus, looking a lot like Christ. Hear him holler on the hillside, a lonesome lullaby about a Sunday morning glory and teardrops in the rain. Oh Lord, about a man who'd give his life to live another day. Can't you hear them church bells ringing and mama start to pray? Oh Lord, over a child she gave birth to, hoping he'd come back again. But he turned into a cowboy, turned into something that he lost along the way. A son of a gun. Watch him run, run, run. And after all the mama's praying, now look at her little boy. watch him ride. And he'll ride again tomorrow, and the next day till he's gone. And that lonely whistle, it's been blowing through the canyons like a song. Yeah, he ain't nothing but a cowboy. He ain't nothing but a man passing some time. He ain't nothing but a cowboy. He'll be a cowboy till he dies.
Man, that's great. The imagery in your songs with these tunes. What a great tune. That's
Thank
really
you.
cool too.
Thank
You pick it up almost like a horse trotting.
Yeah,
You know, like there he goes off into the sunset or something. You know?
Yes, exactly.
Way cool.
Yeah.
Take that. You know, a few months back, you were part of a campaign for an organization local to Marquette. Was that your temporary housing treatment facility? You guys did like Christmas songs and stuff like that for, right?
Yeah, that was spearheaded by some good friends of mine and some other working musician, another working musician in the Marquette area, and his wife, Troy and Lisa Graham, who I know you're also friends with, and they were behind that. And yeah, it was just a little Christmas benefit they did to spread awareness and I believe raise some funds for an organization that's helping provide housing and I believe some other services for the homeless community in the Marquette area, and that's continuing to grow in the Marquette area. So I think it's very important that there are people out there working at trying to find solutions to helping them, you know, and helping them get back on doing what they can to help them get back on their feet, you know, and be able to pursue a full life, you know.
Yeah, we talked a little bit, you know, about giving back and stuff like at breakfast and whatever. So it's always really inspiring to see people like yourself being part of, you know, campaigns and initiatives like that that go out towards helping other people. Sometimes it can, you know, I don't know if that's just a feeling, but geez, it's such a, you know, it's a real blessing to be able to play music. You know, it's a really great opportunity to be able to do what you love, you know, and there's, sometimes it feels like there's, like, you know, do you have a responsibility to that or to other people, or what can you do to, you know, show gratitude and if it's your calling and stuff like that, you know, how many times do you say no to opportunities or you know, frame them up so that you're not going to participate in them or whatnot. But no, it's really cool to see, like I said, artists giving back to the greater community in ways like that. You find that to be fulfilling. Are there other things that you're involved with as well in terms of kind of that whole, you know, gratitude or giving back kind of tradition, mindset and whatnot?
Well, I think for that, again, I think Lisa reached out to me recently, so I think I'll be performing at the homeless shelter on Mother's Day, I believe. I think that might be happening. So I'll pick a few songs for them. One thing I do that is really nice is, for me, you know, it makes me feel good, perform at the Veterans Home once a month. So that's pretty cool. I do one show, I do like an hour show in their main cathedral. And then I go down to the memory care unit for another hour, and I perform for the folks down in memory care. And I really like doing both. And it's I think you know, they like all the old country, of course. So they like to hear those songs that they grew up with and whatnot. And you know, I'm sure takes them back to some nice times in their lives. But down in memory care, it's really neat because, you know, a lot of the people down there, you know, in certain states of being, and there's one guy in particular, well, he knows the songs better than I do sometimes, you know. He'll just kind of be sitting there, but as soon as I start playing, he's singing along and stuff. So that's pretty pretty fascinating to watch and to see that. You know, they say that too with especially like classical music. It like serves. I'm sure there's some really interesting like even like medical studies with the effects that classical or like just music therapy. And but to see how that, you know, kind of reaches this sort of subconscious part of people, you know, these songs that they are ingrained in them. I played. I felt kind of bad, but I played this old song called Shenandoah, and the guy I guess like started crying, had to like kind of like leave the room for a minute. But I mean, hopefully that was cathartic for him. But that's very neat though, like people who you know, it kind of brings some you know, life and spirit, you know, of music. So
Yeah, that impact that music has on people transcends sometimes even those medical situations that people are in, you know, with dementia or whatnot.
Correct.
It might be.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the gift in it, you know, that's the healing part of it. And that's what keeps us connected to just the human experience with others. Really special thing there. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
I'm sure people there appreciate it as well, but that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I would like to seek out some more. So, like, I think, like, down the road, like, a nonprofit, once I have, like, a clearer vision for, like, what that would exactly be. But I would like to get some sort of, like, nonprofit going somehow or something or the other. I don't know. Like, I've been affected, like, my family has been affected by, like, cancer pretty heavily. So I think, like, maybe something for, like, I don't know, like, youth or, like, high school or like college kids or something who like lost their parents to cancer or something, like something, and then tie that into music somehow. But you know, just hope like down the road, you know, if that's meant to be, I think the vision will arise and the means and figuring that out. But yeah, hopefully it's just the beginning of being able to do more and more stuff for people. But yeah.
Very cool. Oh, singing. You know, let's talk about. I think you've got a fairly unique voice, Ethan. I think you got
Thanks,
a strong,
Scott. I appreciate
strong,
that.
wonderful country voice. It does to me. It harkens back to sort of like a Waylon Jennings. You know, I kind of, you and Sturgill Simpson have a similar way of vocalizing and stuff like that. And you know, like it's a rich baritone voice, right?
Thank you.
Are you? How do we get into that? There's like, you know, everybody is expressing themselves and how they sing and perform and all that, and part of you wants to be open and supportive of that. Do you ever find that sometimes people you'll come across, they just, it's like a turnoff? Not, you know, or I would say sometimes particularly with one genre or the other, you know, like what people always say, like punk rock music, like you can't be good at it. Like the worse you are, the better you are, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned Green Day in terms of one of the first songs that you ever learned how to play. And you know, I remember an interview that Billy had that was like, yes, that's the essence. Like we want to write songs that some kid picking up his guitar for the first time in his garage can like, they can learn that and they can play that too. And if it's more complicated, then it's less accessible to them. But it doesn't, you know, it doesn't cheapen the art. It makes it more accessible in that way. But you know, we're talking about people, and is there a barometer? Is there a metric for like what is good to you, like things that you like based on the musicianship, the musicality, maybe you know the intonation or the overall timbre? Are there certain things that you kind of are turned off by, or other things that you maybe find yourself more attracted to when it comes down to other people and kind of cruising in that scene? You know, because you know, I would just say that sometimes, like with the country genre, people seem, it's like, oh, the more whiny it is, or the more like just shallow and like just a little flat, right? People are singing just a little flat. It almost seems to be like a thing that they shoot for because they're like going for a sound that maybe isn't authentically theirs, right?
Correct, yeah.
And so, or people start singing in a southern drawl or something, and they're from you know, Michigan. You know, it's like,
Yes.
you are not Southern. Why are you singing like a
Right.
Southern person? There's no reason for this. You know, quit it.
Yeah, yeah. That's like a big old long
It's
trail,
a-
but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
there's
big
lot
rabbit
to be
hole, right?
found there. I think I like. Yeah, you get that with like a lot of like Instagram artists too, like, and obviously like Instagram's like a big platform for getting yourself out there. It's kind of like a necessary beast in a certain degree, but they a lot of like people on there who are just kind of doing this. You can tell it's like a little bit of mimicry, and not authentic. And so I think like for me as a vocalist, and like I come from like a classical kind of background from doing like some classical singing and like doing some music theater and stuff, and being trained that way. So there's some elements to like vocal training that I appreciate. And like I like opera a lot. So
Because, you know, it kind of harkens back to, like, you know, people always like Bob Dylan, right? Not one of the
Yeah.
greatest voices, but
Right.
oh my gosh, you know, poet laureate,
Well-
songwriter extraordinaire, all this sort of stuff, you know.
That's yeah. So that's what I would say, like for me, like the biggest thing with like a singer, and like I feel like the like that I want to hear is like I just want it to sound authentic, and like you and like my fiance and I always talk about this, but like we always like people and we're like, you know, they sound like they sing like you'd imagine they talk, you know, and like that's what I always like. Dylan, great example. Fred J. Eaglesmith. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm
He's
not.
I'll have to send you some stuff before I leave today. He's like a country folk bluegrass guy based out of Canada, and really cool voice. And again, he sings like he talks, and it's really neat. And I wouldn't quite rope myself in with that because again, with like my like classical training and whatnot, I guess like I like sing it a little more. But I hope and I like strive for that to be like real though, and like not to be like mimicking anything. I think though there's a line too, like there's characterization, like don't get me, like I think like if you're gonna add, like I do this too, like ham up like a little fake country accent, but it's like deliberate. And it's not, you know, it's like if I'm putting on like a character, it's not like I'm pretending like that's me. Like it's, people are supposed to be in on that, like I'm singing like kind of like, you know, I have a few songs where I do that, and it's not like,
It's more tongue-in-cheek and theatrical than it is.
So there's a character, just like if I get like some songs, like when I sing the song Django, I get very like operatic. So like that's just like a character. Well, that's not as much as a characterization as like a style, but I mean characterization is a thing. I think like some artists like could do like maybe a better job of understanding that, and I think they would sound better because of that. Because I think you do find some people who are just kind of like mimicking and changing their voice, and that's not who they are, you know. And it's like, why? It's just kind of like, why do you need to hide? Like, not in like I don't mean that in like a mean way, but it's just like more like embrace who you are, you know, embrace how you sound, because you'd sound good if, you know, there'd be you know, you'd sound great. So just like embrace it, you know. Like you don't need to, you know, there are people that sound like that. Let them sound like that. You're the only person that can sound like you, you know. So like go for it, you know, and let, you know, Bill Watkins from Kentucky sound like Bill Watkins from Kentucky, you know, sound like, you know, you sound like, you know, the Midwestern or the Canadian or this or that, you know, wherever you're from. You just sound like who you are.
Yeah, I think back to my own early childhood, if you will, like junior high, high school, singing stuff. Shoot, if you know, listen to the Blues Brothers or something, you know, Jim Belushi up there singing, you know, fronting the band, or maybe like a Rod Stewart type voice or whatever. You know, if you're a young kid and you're trying to put that gravel on your voice, and it's like, well, no, you need like 15 years of smoking and drinking whiskey and, you know, in order to really get that authentic sound, you know? And maybe trying to emulate that or mimic that really could do some potential damage to your voice.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, but sure, if you're approaching it just to be a little bit more authentic to your own voice, and yeah, I guess it's a very interesting thing because I don't know. Sometimes people are able to use those tools, that they've learned growing up, getting some schooling and some training and stuff like that, and it can feel like when you pop into rock music or country music or whatever, that you want to almost like cast those tendencies or those those techniques aside, right? You're like, oh, well, I don't have to sing like that because I'm not in a choir anymore. I'm not, I'm not trying to like blend with 100 other voices, and we're not all singing the same part. That has to be pronounced. Our diction all has to be the same, and this and that, and so now I can be my own authentic voice in this way, and then you end up casting all those techniques aside, and and then you have to sort of like reintroduce them to be able to keep it up, if you will.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like that's where just like deliberate choices, characterization, and technique come in, because again, like, it's not inherently bad if you're gonna, but like, I think it's just like as a whole, like, you think like the song Rocky Raccoon, Paul McCartney does it, well, one time in the Black Mountain Hills, and it's different, but it's like deliberate and it sounds good, it fits. I think the Byrds did it too, like on Sweetheart of the Rodeo. They kind of played up a little bit of country accent, but it was deliberate, and they weren't like trying to fool anyone. They're just kind of like trying to fit the sound. So like sometimes we were talking about at breakfast too, like serving the song. I mean, sometimes maybe the song calls for that, but I think like what happens, and I think we're seeing it through, all the time, just people wanting to model themselves after what they love and hear, but they're kind of getting misconstrued in a way, and just maybe they just don't think their voice isn't good enough, or for whatever reason they want to embody like a different style altogether that's just not authentic. And
yeah, so that's maybe more important than anything else when it comes down to how somebody might sound. Is that the barometer would be, does it seem authentic? Does it sound authentic? Or does it seem and sound contrived? Or character?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe that character is effective and and appropriate for certain circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not for the entirety or the duration, but just little beeps here and there,
Yeah, I think it's good to like have your neutral state of singing that you can always like revert to, and should be like your staple that you go to, and then from there you can traverse through different types of material and songs from there. It's kind of like in acting, like a big thing like is like finding your like neutral, relaxed state of being, and then from there you can kind of chameleon into different characters and sets of emotions, but you have this like neutral state of just like being who you just kind of like naturally are. So know thyself.
Yeah. Oh, and everybody was talking about it, obviously, but so it's like when Chris Stapleton did the Super Bowl, national anthem, right? Maybe that's a really poignant example of it too, because you think, hey, it's the national anthem, it's got to be done this way. I'm going to put on my operatic voice, harken back to, how does those original classical recordings and stuff like that. And so it's a really hard piece to sing, daunting and all that sort of stuff. But there you got, an artist like Chris Stapleton, he just makes it his own. He gives it the proper homage, in his performance and all that sort of stuff. But he's not, it's the Chris Stapleton that you expected to hear, right? It's not like he's completely changing how he's vocalizing to fit like the nuance of it's the national anthem and it's got to be sung like oh la 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 la, but yeah, too, like taking that song and making it your own. That's what great artists do in a lot of ways. It's not just regurgitating what's been put out there. It's finding how it resonates with you and your voice and your delivery of it, to be that authentic performance of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, he took some time and worked up an arrangement that fit him, and
Yeah.
you know, it was very meaning. You know, always a meaningful tune, you know, to perform, you know, for people at various events and whatnot. But also very like, wow, it's a big one, you know.
Yeah.
That's one you don't want to mess up.
Right. Yeah.
You know, when you perform at the veterans home and stuff like that, is there a tinge of sort of like patriotic music that sometimes is expected or requested, or do you ever, you know, would that be a song that maybe you visit every now and then in those circumstances, or is it more, you know, connecting with that popular music of yesteryear, you know, with the classic country and your original tunes and stuff like that?
Yeah, more so that. I guess I've never really thought about doing like a patriotic song, surprisingly. Maybe I like should look up some stuff, but I remember one guy came up to me after a show once, and he was like singing me this song called like "I Want to Give My Dog to Uncle Sam." It was like some World War II thing.
Whoa.
But, yeah, no, I've never done that there. It's more about, like sticking to like the old stuff, like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and all the songs they like. So yeah, I don't really do that. No, I'll do like I like to throw in like a spiritual song or two sometimes. I always think that's nice, and fitting, especially like in the cathedral. I think there's like something soothing and peaceful about that. But other than that, yeah, I just try to keep it pretty like country.
Right on.
For them, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's because that harkens back to just the other thing about you know, knowing your audience or going into it, and and sure, it's one thing to like fulfill a request for a special occasion, right? You get hired for a private party or a wedding or something, and like learn these songs, make them your own, but perform them. That could be a lot. You know, it's a lot of pressure. A, right? B, maybe those are songs that you wouldn't necessarily authentically cover yourself. You know, it's like, I've never heard the song. I don't listen to this, whatever. But I got to do it because it's part of the job. And you know, where are we going with that? It just it could be a little bit more difficult in those circumstances. But and yeah, too, if it's kind of fun though too in certain ways. You know, going back through some of those old catalogs. You know, the early folk music and yes, the patriotic numbers, or even you know, stuff from you know, like church music, traditional you know, revival hymns and stuff like that. You know, we talk about like Wayfaring Stranger, or you know, the Carter Family Songbook. You know, a lot of this stuff is rooted in you know, kind of like religious music and whatnot. And there could be something really cool about revisiting that, you know, in certain circumstances. It might have more, you know, appropriate application than others, but
I think my favorite is if you've heard of Thomas A. Dorsey.
Okay.
And he's based out of Chicago, and I think he's like doing blues and stuff first, but then he got into gospel and spiritual, and he just has some magnificent songs. Take My Hand, Precious Lord, Peace in the Valley. Those are two I love. He's got a really cool intro on Take My Hand, Precious Lord. He's playing piano, and he recounts a true story. He lost his wife and child died, and he kind of talks about going through that at the beginning, and then leaves with finding this piece of moving forward. He goes into the music room one day, and he gets onto the keys, and he describes it as falling like drops of water onto the keys, and goes into this just really, really beautiful tune.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to check him out after this. Hey, we're getting there a little bit.
Yeah.
I know you got to make your trek home tonight,
Yeah.
and it's a couple hours down the road, and
Yeah,
it'd be nice to do that during the daylight for you.
Yeah.
But can we squeeze in another song?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Is that all right?
That is great.
Cool.
Yes.
And is this one still in the D tuning?
It is, yeah. Kind of, I think that sounds alright. I'll try, and this one's a little fresher, so I'll try and not mess up, but this is a song I like. So I've got this little, like, project I've got kind of on the back burner right now because I'm doing other stuff and it's just not a main priority. I'm just kind of letting it organically develop. But it's kind of this little concept album. I'm slowly crafting together and trying to get a blueprint for it, trying to get like a story to at this point I'm thinking maybe like a little like vignette of like different stories all wrapped up into one that showcase different characters and somehow tying all that together. But again, it's still pretty open-ended, so I'm just letting some ideas brew there and just kind of like having some fun with that until the time comes where I'm really ready to get serious about it. But I've got like 5 maybe songs or so for it now, so it's nice. Like I don't feel pressured to do it though. I'm just letting it naturally develop. But you know, like they'd call it like a Western, so I kind of want this to be a Northern, you know, like a Northern. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to even have like little inner snippets of like dialogue and stuff, like kind of like use some of my theater background. I kind of want it to be like a culmination of everything behind me as far as like country music, theater, you know, writing, just like have it kind of be this neat little piece. You know, maybe it could almost be this like music video country thing. But we'll see how that develops. But this song here, this one's fresher, so I think like everything I've played is like 2 1-year-old. This one I wrote at the end of December, right at the beginning of January, and would fit somehow into my little concept album. It's called Lorena. I got that title because I was reading this, one of my favorite novels now. It's a book written by Larry McMurtry. It's called Lonesome Dove. Epic Western novel. Really dug it. And there's a character in that named Lorena. So I kind of took some inspiration for that to make this song. And there's actually an old Civil War era song too called Lorena. I play that in my set sometime. That's pretty sweet too. But no, so this one though is inspired by Lonesome Dove, kind of. Not too much, but a little bit. And yeah, let's get into it. Oh, how I long to look into your eyes, Lorena. Oh, how I wish to run my hands through your golden hair. Oh, how I dream of holding you tight, sweet Lorena. But you're gone tonight, nowhere in sight, Lorena. She's disappeared. I remember the night that I rode by your window, Lorena. My heart was weary and lonesome and tired from the trail. And I knew only one way to cure what had ailed me, Lorena. Your figure is soft as the feather of an angel's wing. Lorena, sent from heaven above. Lorena, where have you gone? Lorena, soon you'll be softly asleep, cradled warm in my arms. Lorena, if I could just track the prints, if I could just find the trail that you're on. Oh, what I'd give just to have you tonight, Lorena. To hold you as close as the figure so fair in my mind. And who I would kill to assure you no harm, sweet Lorena. With my pistol of steel, my saddle strapped strong, I ride to the dawn. Lorena, my passion's inspired by all that you say, look, and do. Lorena, with uncompared beauty, prepares me for what I'll go through. Lorena, soon you'll be softly asleep, cradled warm in my arms. If I could just find the trail, if I could just track the prints that you're on. If I could just find the trail, if I could just track the prints that you're on.
Very cool.
Thank you.
There's nothing like a good old Western tune storyline there to bring it back to the old back porch. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's got like a maybe like little Western swing, the Southwestern like whatever feel.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like writing I like history too. So I like writing throwing it back. I'm a big Western film buff too. So I like to incorporate that. I like the Hodag House song, the Mademoiselle and the Debonair, and I like to incorporate that into my songwriting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. And is there? Oh, we got I guess I was gonna. Yes, there's the little questions that sometimes we roll into. I was gonna say what was kind of your early inspiration for that? Getting turned on to Western films and the life of the cowboy and stuff like that. Was that part of growing up that kind of got you turned on to that, or was that later? Or
yeah, I've always been kind of nature country kid. I grew up in the woods, so I've always been very had a deep connection with the more wild parts of the world of wilderness, I guess. And I wasn't too into Western media besides country music as a kid. I'm trying to think Western films. I think a lot of kids I thought it was cool, but it wasn't my main thing. But I got into horse riding a little later, in my earlier 20s, and I was kind of started getting into some of that and Western films. I probably I watched Once Upon a Time in the West in college, so that was really neat, and I really liked the score for that. But no, Western films, I guess I've I've always appreciated them. Like, yeah, spaghetti westerns and stuff, and like in high school. But probably like in the last 2 years, I've like taken almost, you could say, like a more academic approach to it, where it's just like really watching all these films and like seeing the historical context from when they were made, and like with like the movie production companies and like the time they were filmed in. So like what were the cultural messages they were trying to portray during that time. But also a cool thing about those films, aside from like the cultural media aspect, is the way they were filmed. Like they were all real horses, live stunts, and all that cool stuff. And so I like to watch it for that reason too. But there's a lot of different aspects I like to it, like about them. But yeah, I recently had I crafted a little Western noir film genre like study for myself, and there were like 30 something films on there dating from the late 40s into the early 60s, primarily being set in the 1950 period. And yeah, the whole style is like Western noir, so it's like the Western's take on, the noir film genre in a way. So that's pretty cool though. Like I get a lot of like story inspiration from that though, because it's like a lot of like tragedy and backdoor dealings, and it's not always like the triumphant good guy wins Western, although they generally like end like that. There's a lot of like seedy stuff going on. But I always like, when they genre bending though, it's always kind of cool when it doesn't go how you are expecting it to go. Like Sergio Corbucci's The Silence or something like that, The Great Silence. I can't remember the name of that one, but like, spoiler alert, but like everybody like good dies. And, like, yeah, it's kind of like
it's
crazy.
a tragedy. It's a real tragedy.
It's like the final, the final triumphant shootout isn't that. Like the guy dies right away, and then the evil dudes are just all chilling at the bar. But yeah.
Oh, epic. Will film and culture ever be, similar to that, in terms of really pioneering anything new? Or are we still on a recycle, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're still in a recycle, really. I don't know. I think it's hard for, it's always hard to say because I wasn't around like 50 years ago, but I feel like, hard to say, I guess, because we're at a time where being an independent like artist or media creator is very like accessible. But I think on like a bigger scale, it's very, I think, hard if you have a more unique sort of story or like message you want to get across. Like if it's not like cool or trendy, it might not be, if it's not, it might not be able to break through it. Like, it's a lot of like cookie cutter stuff. I feel like even like with Amazon and Netflix shows and movies out there today, there's not, the message in art, is being diminished big time, I feel like. But I don't know. Hard to say though. I think we could be in for a big renaissance too though, and that could even be underway. I'm not too up to date with like modern independent film either, so I don't know what good stuff is out there, And I think that time makes everything look a little better or worse depending, but I think there's like some stuff, I even see this with like films where you like watch it, you're like, when this came out maybe it would have been like cheesier, but because it now has this, it's got some like older elements that make it a little cooler, even just like the historical context of showcasing like things of the time, whether that could be within the film itself, like the vehicles or the horses or the costuming, or if it's the way it was produced, the filming, what film cameras were being used, the type of shots and angles the directors were utilizing at the time. But yeah, I think it's very interesting.
Big time. Yeah, it's getting to that breaking through element of things. It's almost like you've got all these platforms to distribute music to, whether it's like iTunes or Amazon or the Spotify's, these streaming services and these other platforms. And by the time you get your music in all these places, right, you know, geez, sometimes people are paying for one, or, it's like you have to purchase it or get a subscription. Some other stuff is free. Have you stretched or have you overexposed yourself, right? You've just stretched yourself so thin to all these various platforms, which, makes sense, is encouraged, but at the same time, what about drawing people to just that one hub or that one location, like your website, or you have to buy the CD to have the music, and if you're completely out there everywhere in the digital landscape, if you will, what's somebody's incentive for buying that record or buying that CD? I mean, outside of just maybe supporting you as an artist, they don't have to do that in order to access it, and then does it make them value that less? There's a different value put on something that they can glean for free or whatnot, some of that, I don't know, kind of maybe transcends the live performance as well. People show up to live music and they like it, but people are paying $1,000 for a concert and still sitting there having a loud conversation with people, just the same as they're walking into a $10 at the door and, and conversing on through a show as well. It's maybe it's always been that way, but like you're saying, 50 years ago we weren't necessarily around to experience that, and and you try to cultivate those listening rooms where it can be just an opportunity for expression and sharing, and it doesn't always, you still got the variable of people. People will still do their thing. But I did run into a guy the other day who was like, I'm not here to impress, I'm here to express. Yeah, that was like a life lesson that somebody imparted on him. And I was like, that's a whole new headspace to approach something that way. And I don't think it was the first time I heard it or something similar to it, but it did kind of bring it back to like what's important, and is it important to just be like, oh, this is impressive, because somebody else is going to, right, potentially be able to, like, you're never going to be the world's best guitar player, right? Like, you're never going to be this, or maybe you are, but, is that something you really want to, and it's not wrong to chase after that. It's not wrong to, like, try to improve. It's not wrong to, practice and try to get better or do this or do that or whatever, but right, it gets back to that being authentic, be yourself, do your best job, throw your best self out there, and that should be maybe more the goal, to just be expressive and be in that moment of sharing, as opposed to the whole, look what I can do thing.
Yeah, it's very, I think, like, going off like the look what I can do thing too, and like in our like one click like culture, like the attention spans and like the willingness and want to like dig deep is lacking as well. Like, we're not reading as much, like literature isn't as much of a thing, and think of how great that is for like build for your mind, being able to read a whole book, not only read it but think about it and connect. Like, that's a chunk of time, and it's just scrolling through your phone now, watching a 30-second video of like, oh, this 9-year-old shredding, oh, that's cool, oh, here's someone riding a whale, it flip, and no one, like, I mean, not no one, but it's just like prevailing our culture of this kind of shallowness. That's like a big problem I have with social media and like the internet. Again, there's positives to it too, so I don't want to sound like some old curmudgeon just like wailing on stuff,